You don't want to mix those two things. It's a sin, therefore, to be a Sabbath keeper. You're going under the law. And Paul says, this is most important, I, Paul, a Jew, am not under the law. He makes no distinction at all between being under the law of, how am I trying to put this? Paul himself is not under the law in any form, in the letter that is. So the distinction we're talking about is the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. If you don't get that distinction, you miss the whole point. But Paul is a Jew now. He's not obligated to circumcision, Sabbath keeping, any of that, food laws in Romans 10. This is very radical stuff. Yes, it makes it harder to approach a Jew with the faith, but whoever said it was easy? It's like trying to preach to a Trinitarian who is convinced of the Trinity. So that is hard, but that's accepted. However, the miracle happens when people who are Jews even see that the new covenant in Messiah is a different order, different category than even Moses. Moses has been superseded in the book of Hebrews. Something greater than Moses. What? Yes, greater than Moses. That law was fine for the time, but it's not for now. I think it's rather clear. Radical, but very clear. But at the end of the day, here's the point I want to make. Paul is a Jew, and he's not under the law. He never ever says, well, I'm a Jew, so I have to stay under the law. The very opposite is true. So we have to be very careful to define what Paul is doing, because he's the Jewish model. Can you imagine Paul being the leader of all the Gentiles, and he's keeping all the Sabbaths and holy days and food laws, and telling his folk not to? That is an unworkable division, I suggest, and really should not occur to anybody. Paul is the leader of Gentiles, and I, Paul, he says of himself, am as un-Jewish as you can get. I deny physical circumcision. There's no difference between the annual Sabbath, the new moons, and the weekly Sabbath. I hope it's clear to you that all three are there. So, but what's happened, with great respect to that questioner, you invented a word that has misled you. You invented a clever word. You say the Sabbaths are ceremonial, but the weekly Sabbath isn't. You have fallen foul of Colossians 2. Don't go there. All three are equal status, a single shadow. Don't divide it up and say this one was ceremonial, the other wasn't. You invented a clever word and then tricked yourself with your own words. No, no. The Sabbath weekly is just as much a shadow as the Sabbath annually, as just as much as the new moons. If you lose that bond of meaning there, very straightforward English, the shadow is the single trio, without distinction in Paul's mind, without any kind of differentiation. Don't create a clever differentiation by inventing your own word and calling some of it ceremonial. Paul doesn't do that.